I never thought I'd say this out loud, but my wife has always been hard to please. No matter what I did, planning dinners, fixing things around the house, or just trying to listen, it seemed like she was never satisfied. I guess she had this way of always wanting more excitement, more attention, more of something I just couldn't figure out. It wore me down. At first, I loved her for her fire, the way she could light up a room. But over time, that fire turned into something else, a restless flame that burned everything around it, including me. We drifted. I stopped feeling that spark, and honestly, I found myself looking elsewhere, flirting with other girls, even though I never acted on it. It was more about feeling noticed again, about reminding myself I still mattered. Then everything changed. Her father passed away. It hit her hard, harder than I expected. Maybe it was the grief, or maybe something else, but suddenly she wasn't the woman I knew. She threw herself into the gym, into her appearance, like trying to rebuild herself from the inside out. I noticed the changes first with her clothes, tighter, shorter, more daring. Her lips looked different, fuller somehow, and she carried herself with this new confidence that I didn't recognize. She started to enjoy the attention she was getting. Not just from me, but from other men too. At first, I was angry. Jealous. Hurt. But then I realized she was searching for something, maybe freedom or control, something she felt she lost when her father died. It was tough watching her explore this new side of herself, the side that loved to seduce, to tease, to be desired by anyone who looked her way. Sometimes, it felt like she was everywhere at once, with different men, living in a world I couldn't touch. But here's the thing, I forgave her. Not because I was weak or naive, but because I saw the pain behind it all. I knew she was trying to find herself again, and maybe, in her own way, she was still trying to hold on to us. I'm no hero. I'm just a regular guy trying to make sense of a marriage that's changing faster than I can keep up. But I'm not giving up, not yet. After her father passed, the house felt emptier in more ways than one. She used to talk to him almost every day. I think he was her anchor, the one person who could calm her storms. Without him, everything inside her seemed to shift, and so did everything between us. She threw herself into this new version of herself, going to the gym religiously, spending hours in front of the mirror, changing her style until she looked like a different person. It wasn't just about looking good. It was like she wanted to prove something to the world, and maybe to herself. At first, I felt like a spectator watching from the sidelines, unsure if I was still part of the game or just a bystander. She'd come home late, smelling different, perfume stronger, laughter louder, stories about new people she met. She was more alive than she'd been in years, but I couldn't help feeling left behind. One night, I caught a glimpse of the way some men looked at her, like she was the prize in some game. She noticed, too, and I saw this flicker of power in her eyes, like she finally understood how much control she could have over others just by being herself. It was hard. Really hard. I caught myself asking questions I didn't want answers to. Did she still love me? Did I even matter? But she never gave clear answers. Instead, she smiled that mischievous smile and said, "I'm just trying to find who I am now." And that's when I realized, maybe this isn't about me. Maybe it's about her, about healing in the only way she knows how. I started pulling back, not because I stopped caring, but because I had to. I let her have her space, her freedom, even if it hurt like hell. And somehow, in that space, I found a strange kind of peace. I still flirted with other girls, sure. But now it wasn't just about feeling wanted, it was about trying to understand what I wanted, too. And maybe, just maybe, about holding on to a hope that one day we'd find our way back to each other. By now, things between us were like walking on a tightrope, fragile and unpredictable. I could see the change in her, but I still didn't fully understand it. She seemed more alive, more daring, but also more distant, like she was slipping through my fingers. One afternoon, I came home early from work, hoping for a quiet evening together. Instead, I found her sitting on the couch, dressed in one of those tight, short dresses she had started wearing. She smiled when she saw me, but there was a spark in her eyes I hadn't seen before, a mix of challenge and invitation. "I went out tonight," she said casually, twisting a strand of her hair around her finger. "To the gym?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She laughed softly. "Not just the gym." I didn't press her, even though every instinct screamed for answers. Instead, I sat down beside her and watched her. She talked about the men she met, how she enjoyed the attention, the power she felt when she could make someone want her. It stung, but I listened. That night, I realized she wasn't just flirting with other men. She was crossing lines I didn't know how to handle. And yet, part of me was oddly drawn to the raw honesty of it all. She was being true to herself, even if it hurt me. I caught myself wondering if I had failed her somehow. Had I stopped being enough? Was this my punishment for drifting away first? Still, despite the pain, I didn't pull away completely. I forgave her, not because I was blind to what was happening, but because I loved her in a way that went beyond jealousy or pride. In a strange, complicated way, her new freedom made me look at our marriage differently. Maybe love wasn't about holding on tight, maybe it was about letting go, trusting that somehow, we'd find our way back. One evening, she sat me down. Her eyes were clear, serious. "I'm not the woman you married anymore," she said quietly. "And maybe you're not the man I thought you were." It hit me like a punch to the gut. She was right, of course. We were both changing, maybe too fast to hold on to the past. But then she said something I didn't expect: "I'm going to keep living my truth. And if you want to be part of it, you need to decide if you can handle that." That was the moment I realized this wasn't just about us anymore. It was about who we wanted to be, separately and maybe together. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like the future was uncertain, but maybe, just maybe, hopeful. After that conversation, things between us didn't suddenly get easier, they got more complicated. But there was also a strange sense of honesty that hadn't been there before. No more pretending or hiding feelings. We were both out in the open, raw and real. She kept living her truth, going out, dressing how she wanted, and yes, being with other men. It was painful to accept, but I knew trying to stop her would only push us further apart. At the same time, I started to look inward. I asked myself what I really wanted, from her, from us, and from myself. I realized that maybe love wasn't about possession or control, but about trust and forgiveness. One night, she came home late, her eyes shining with excitement after a night out. She didn't hide anything anymore. She told me about the men she'd met, the way she felt alive again. Instead of anger, I felt a strange pride, not in what she did, but in who she was becoming. She was no longer the dissatisfied woman I'd known. She was someone new, someone bold. And as much as it hurt, I found myself wanting to support her, even if that meant stepping back and letting go of some of the things I thought a marriage should be. I realized forgiveness wasn't just about her. It was about me too. About finding peace in the chaos and maybe, just maybe, finding a way to love her, and myself, differently. The rhythm of our new lives had settled into something I barely recognized. She was distant yet captivating, bold yet vulnerable, and I was learning to accept it all, or at least pretend I was. But nothing could have prepared me for what came next. One evening, she asked me to sit down. There was a look in her eyes that stopped me cold, part fear, part determination. It was the kind of look I hadn't seen before, and it demanded my full attention. "I have to tell you something," she said, voice shaking. "Something I kept from you because I was scared." My heart pounded. I braced myself for whatever was coming, hoping it wasn't the end. "I'm pregnant," she said. Shock froze me for a moment. Then she added, "But it's not yours." The room spun. My mind raced, questions tumbling over each other, anger and confusion battling with something deeper, something like heartbreak. She went on, telling me about how after her father died, she'd felt lost and alone, and in that void, she'd made choices she regretted but couldn't undo. "I didn't want to hurt you," she said, tears streaming down her face. "But I needed to be honest." Everything shifted in that instant. The future I thought we were building crashed down around me. And yet, despite everything, I still found myself wanting to forgive her, not because it was easy, but because I loved her. But I couldn't speak yet. Not with the pressure in my chest and the dull ringing in my ears. The floor might as well have opened beneath me. I just stared at her. She reached for my hand. I didn't move away. I didn't move at all. "Please say something," she whispered. But I couldn't. Not yet. So she kept going. "It was just once. I swear it was just once. It wasn't planned. It wasn't even something I thought I would do. But I was weak. And I needed something to feel alive." I swallowed hard. "Who?" She looked down. "You don't know him. I met him at the gym. He was different. Attentive. I didn't expect anything to happen. But he understood something about me. I felt seen. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. I wanted to wake up and find out this was all a bad dream. But instead, I stood up and walked out of the room. For the next 2 days, we barely spoke. I went to work and came home without a word. She didn't try to chase me. She gave me space, and I took it, not even sure what I was doing with it. I couldn't sleep. My mind was on a loop, reliving every moment, every sign I might have missed. I thought about her dresses, her makeup, the way she laughed at texts when she thought I wasn't looking. I thought about how I'd distanced myself first, how I'd flirted with others. And then I thought about the baby. That part one couldn't wrap my head around. There was a life now, growing inside her. A life that wasn't mine. And yet, I couldn't bring myself to hate her. As much as I wanted to be furious, to storm out and leave everything behind, I felt numb. I felt like I was floating through the days, stuck in a dream I couldn't shake. On the 3rd day, I came home and found her sitting in the kitchen. She looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept either. "I made dinner," she said. I sat down. We ate in silence. And then she said something I didn't expect. "I want to keep it." I looked at her. "The baby?" She nodded. "I know it's not yours, and I know I messed everything up. But I want to be honest from now on. And if you can't stay, I understand. But I need you to know that I'm not going to lie anymore. I can't live like that." It was quiet for a long time. "Are you in love with him?" I finally asked. "No," she said. "It was never about love. It was about feeling something again." I took a deep breath. "Then why keep the baby?" She paused, searching for the words. "Because it's mine. Because it's a part of something real, even if how it happened was wrong." And that was when something in me cracked. Not anger. Not forgiveness. Just an overwhelming sadness. That night, I didn't sleep in the guest room like I had the past 2 nights. I lay beside her, staring at the ceiling, wondering what my life was going to look like 6 months from now. The twist wasn't just that she was pregnant. It was that I didn't know if I still belonged in my own life. But as the sun rose, something surprising happened. I turned to her. I put my hand gently on her stomach. She flinched at first, then relaxed. "I don't know what this means yet," I whispered. "But I'm still here." She started to cry. We held each other, unsure of what would come next. But in that moment, it was enough. The next few weeks felt like walking on a glass floor suspended over a canyon. Every word, every silence carried weight. We moved through the days like we were guests in our own home, cautious, respectful, but always holding something back. And still, I stayed. Not because I had the answers, but because something inside me refused to walk away. One Saturday morning, we visited her OBGYN. I sat beside her in the waiting room, leafing through a parenting magazine I had no intention of reading. She rubbed her belly absent-mindedly, her expression distant. The nurse called her name, and she stood up, hesitating just a second before looking back at me. "Come in." I nodded and followed her. Inside the exam room, it was quiet except for the rhythmic whoosh 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 of the fetal heartbeat from the Doppler. I stared at the monitor like it held some kind of answer. Something ancient stirred in me when I heard that sound, not anger, not betrayal, but a strange kind of awe. "Everything looks healthy," the doctor said. "You're about 9 weeks along." 9 weeks. I did the math. After the appointment, we walked silently to the car. When we were halfway home, I finally said it. "I want to meet him." She turned her head slowly toward me. "What?" "The guy. The one from the gym." Her mouth opened, then closed. "Why?" "Because this kid is going to have a father. If it's not me. I want to know what kind of man he is." She was quiet the rest of the ride. I could see the war happening inside her. Guilt, shame, fear. But also maybe relief. The next day, she gave me a name. Jake. A week later, I sat across from Jake at a coffee shop 3 blocks from our house. He was younger than me. Fit, confident, the kind of guy who probably never had to think too hard about how women saw him. He didn't look like someone who regretted anything. "I guess you wanted to size me up," he said with a smirk. I stayed calm. "I wanted to look you in the eye. Know what kind of man leaves a mess behind and walks away." He shrugged. "I didn't know she was married at first. By the time I found out, things had already happened." I clenched my jaw. "And the baby?" He hesitated. "She said she was keeping it." I offered support, "But I'm not looking to play house." "So you're walking away?" "I'm not cut out for that life," he said. And she knew what this was. The rage boiled inside me, but I didn't show it. I finished my coffee and stood. "Then you won't mind if I do what you won't? Raise your child. Be the man you couldn't." He smirked again. "Be my guest." I walked out. That night, I sat with her on the porch. The air was cool and smelled like cut grass and rain. "I met him," I said. She didn't look surprised. "What did he say?" "He's not stepping up." She closed her eyes, and for the first time in weeks, I saw her crack. She started crying, not the kind that begs for comfort, but the kind that lets something go. I held her. "I'll raise the child," I said. "If you'll have me. If we start over." She pulled away and looked at me. "You would really do that?" "I would. But only if you come clean. About everything. No more secrets. No more games." She nodded slowly. And then she told me something I didn't expect. "It wasn't just him," she whispered. The world tilted. "What do you mean?" "I told you it was just once." That was a lie. There were others. After my dad died, I lost myself. I thought I was in control, but I wasn't. I spiraled. I don't even know who the father is. The glass floor shattered beneath me. I stood up. Walked 5 steps toward the railing. Looked out over our backyard like it was someone else's life. "I thought you were broken," I said. But I didn't know how deep it went. I didn't mean for it to happen. I never meant to hurt you. I wanted attention, yes, but I also wanted to punish myself. I thought if someone wanted me, physically, it meant I was still worth something. I turned around. And now? I want to heal. With you. If you still want that. I didn't answer. Not yet. But I didn't leave either. And maybe that meant something. She started therapy 2 days later. I didn't go with her, I wanted her to face the shadows alone first. But when she came home, she curled up beside me on the couch, said nothing, and cried for an hour. I didn't try to stop her. I didn't try to fix it. I just let her break. I didn't know if love could survive this much damage. But I also didn't know what I'd be without her. Maybe that was cowardice. Or maybe it was loyalty. I was starting to realize they looked the same in the dark. Weeks passed. She opened up more each day. Told me about nights in her car with strangers. About how she'd walk into bars looking to be someone else. How she sometimes hated herself so much she wanted to be used, just so she didn't have to feel anything at all. It gutted me. But knowing the worst somehow cleared space for something else. Grace, maybe. Or just the plain, hard truth that nobody walks through fire without scars. Then came the letter. It was Tuesday. I was sorting through bills when I found it, a plain envelope, no return address, my name scrawled across the front. Inside was a single photograph and a note. The photo showed her and a man I didn't recognize, older, suited, maybe 45. They were in a hotel room. She was kissing him, her dress halfway down her back. His hand gripped her hip. The note read, "You deserve to know. She's not done." I waited until she came home from her therapy session. She saw the envelope on the kitchen table and froze. "You opened it," she whispered. "Who is he?" Her knees gave out, and she slumped into a chair. "His name is Carson. He was my dad's old business partner. You said it was over." "It is. That photo's from months ago. I swear." I stared at her, numb. Why would someone send this? I don't know. Maybe one of the wives. Or maybe him. Why would he want to ruin you now? She shook her head slowly. Unless someone's trying to ruin us both. She looked terrified, and for once, I knew it wasn't a performance. That night I couldn't sleep. I stayed up researching Carson, found old articles about his real estate empire, rumors of corruption, tax evasion, even a pending federal case. It hit me like a punch to the chest, this wasn't just about infidelity. She had been a pawn in something bigger. Maybe willingly, maybe not. But this man, Carson, wasn't some random mistake. He was dangerous. I made some calls the next morning. Quiet ones. A friend from college now worked at a private security firm. I asked him to dig. Told him I needed to know if someone was watching my wife. Or me. 2 days later, he called back. "You were right to be worried," he said. "She's not the only one Carson's been with. And some of them were under pressure, financially, legally. There's a pattern. He keeps leverage. Photos. Video. It's how he controls people." And the letter? My guess? Someone else he burned. Or someone trying to warn you. I sat on the edge of the bed that night, staring at her sleeping face. The woman I married was gone. But the woman in front of me, she wasn't evil. Just broken. Just used up by a system that chewed through grief and loneliness like it was soft candy. I could walk away. Nobody would blame me. But then I remembered the look in her eyes when she told me she wanted to heal. The raw terror when she saw that envelope. The small way she held her belly in her sleep, as if protecting something fragile inside her. I made a choice. I woke her up. "We're not running," I said. Her eyes blinked open, confused. "What?" "We're going to expose him." Her face twisted in horror. "No. You don't know what he's capable of. I don't care. He took advantage of you. Of others. He needs to pay. She sat up slowly. And if he destroys us? I took her hand. Then we burn together. But we burn him first. Her lip trembled. And then, for the first time in months, she smiled. A real one. We spent the next week building a case, discreetly, quietly, the way people do when they know they're threading a tripwire. My contact at the security firm pulled files that weren't public yet, leaked audio, bank transfers to offshore accounts, NDAs signed under duress. We weren't just looking at blackmail anymore, we were looking at a trafficking web hidden under the veil of business deals. And she, my wife, she was a key witness. One with more scars than she realized. I watched her step into that role with something fierce in her. She started recording her memories, building a timeline, naming names. Her therapist helped her structure the trauma so it could stand in court. But we knew the risk. So we set a trap. I contacted Carson through a burner number, pretending to be someone else, someone interested in his services. I arranged a meeting at a luxury cabin we rented out of state, wired with hidden cameras and audio feeds. Our goal was to get him on tape admitting he'd coerced women into sex to secure deals or silence them afterward. The night came. Carson arrived with the smug calm of a man who thought he ruled the dirt he walked on. He had no clue the woman waiting behind the closed curtain was the one person he shouldn't have underestimated. She didn't hesitate. The conversation started like a business deal. Then it got personal. She asked questions. He bragged. He said things that sealed his fate. When it was over, I stepped out with the evidence in hand. He froze. You? I nodded. Game's over. He smiled, dark and cold. You think this ends with a tape? We'll see. We turned everything over to federal agents. Quietly. Safely. They'd been investigating Carson for years but lacked witnesses brave enough to testify. Now they had one. The weeks that followed were chaos. Our faces weren't shown, but the scandal hit national news. Billionaire predator. Secret blackmail network. Corrupt politicians caught in the dragnet. Carson tried to flee the country. He didn't make it. And then, just when I thought the storm had passed, came the last fire. We came home one night and found our house ransacked. Nothing stolen, just wrecked. A message left on the bedroom mirror in red lipstick. Traitors burn. We went into protective custody. Changed names. Moved states. She cried the first week in the new house. But not from fear. From relief. She was finally free. It's been 2 years now. We run a small bookstore in a sleepy town that doesn't ask questions. She reads poetry again. Sometimes to me, sometimes to strangers who wander in looking for something soft in a brutal world. And me? I plant trees. I fix fences. I wake up beside a woman who knows her worth, not because a man gives it to her, but because she walked through hell and didn't let it define her. One night, as we were closing up the shop, she turned to me and said, "Do you think I deserve this peace?" I kissed her hand. "You earned it." She smiled. "Then let's never look back." And we didn't.